Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin, and today's topic is stepping into the void. Uh, the moment that we let go of control and surrender to the way that life is unfolding and the freedom that's available to us if we can actually do that, or when we can actually do that. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present and uh, take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press the palms together. Vigorously rub your palms together. Feel the friction, the heat, the pressure, the temperature, all that movement and the tickling and tingling when you stop. Allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's so great to be here with you. Good morning, Rosalind. Welcome, and welcome to everybody else who's joining us. So we're talking today about stepping into the void, the unknown, the uncertainty, allowing ourselves to embrace it, even as we might be trembling in our shoes, to still step forward into that unknown. So the truth is that really all of life is unknown. Any next moment is unknown, although there is a probability. We live our lives in probability, right? There's a probability that things are going to unfold a certain way, but the truth is that we're always living in uncertainty, but we create this illusion of continuity and certainty so that we can function more easily, with making plans and and living our lives not in constant terror of what might happen, that any sort of unpredicted outcome that might come up and bite us or surprise us or whatever. And it's fascinating to me how we construct these structures of normalcy, and it allows us to function, right? Yet there are moments in life where it's quite clear that we're facing an unknown, an uncertainty. And in those moments when we're facing this, the known unknown, we get to choose how to be in the face of it. We get to choose whether to step forward or not. And this topic's coming up for me because as I've been talking about this workshop I'm leaving tonight, and I'm very excited about it. And I really don't know what to expect. I know loosely what to expect, but there's so many, it's so unfamiliar in so many ways that it's really interesting to notice the behavior patterns that indicate stress, like even though I'm not consciously a little bit anxious, but like not consciously really fearful around it. I'm more excited than fearful, but there's a lot of unknown, and it feels like an epic kind of passage, and I'm just really present to all the feels, all the anticipation and just rallying my courage as well as my excitement. And I imagine, like when we go off on an adventure, there's this mixture of embracing the unknown, like just there's a point. So the perfect example of the surrender that I'm talking about, like the letting go and just saying, okay, universe, here I am, let's do this thing, whatever it is, bring what may, come what may, was when for my 30th birthday, I decided I was going to jump out of a plane. Thank you so much, Rosalind. Any good vibes for travel that any of you have? I would love that. No delays, easy flights, easy transport, everything going according to timing. That would be just so lovely. But so I decided to go parachuting, and they taught us on the ground what we should do, in the process of this parachuting. And I didn't do free fall by myself. I was actually hooked up to the instructor, with these rivets on my shoulders and on my hips. So there were 4 points of connection. And what we were told to do is we were going to step out, hold on to the wing of the plane, no joke. There was a thing to step onto, hold on to the wing, and then let go and fall backwards. and and I did that with the instructor, and it was the sense of relief when we were in free fall, the sense of freedom, because I just completely let go. What I realized was there was nothing that I could do. There was nothing to do about anything. Either we were going to splat or we were going to land, but there was nothing I could do about it. And there was this profound sense of relief at just relinquishing control or the illusion of control, to just be in the flow of life in that moment, so that life would deliver whatever it was going to deliver, and I didn't really have anything to do with it. And so it was really one of the most profound senses of freedom I've ever felt in my life. Really complete freedom and release, because there was nothing I could do about it. And I'm hoping that maybe before I walk out my door today, if not when I do walk out the door, that I can leave behind all the cares and just say, okay, here's the adventure. We're on our way, and everything that's packed is packed. There's not gonna, I'll have what I have. I won't have what I don't have. And we move out from that space. And then just sort of surrender to the adventure. And I wonder, I think that we can create this in so many different aspects of our lives. You know, we get caught up in the lists and the to-dos and the obligations and the responsibilities. And I think that there's a way that we can hold those responsibilities to say, okay, so this is the agenda, without getting caught up in the pressure or the drama that we create for ourselves around things. Like, we could be really nervous and anxious about travel. I remember as a kid, when we would fly, we were very fortunate to be able to go on some family vacations, and my mom was very, very nervous in the plane. And in retrospect, I understand that it's because there was a spate of friends who had private planes who died, who crashed and died. There was maybe two families that we knew of that had a private plane and ended up dying in plane crashes. And so when we would go in the airplane, my mom would try and hold up the plane. You know, she was terrified. And we can live life like that, trying to protect ourselves from every eventuality, every possibility. You know, we can try to hold up the plane, or we can just be in the plane. And Rosalind says, planes need wind resistance to take off. Opposite notion of going where the wind blows. Interesting. Oh, that's interesting. I don't think I would have put that together, Rosalind. Thank you. So maybe it is this bit of resistance that allows us to focus our resolve, you know, to set our intention more clearly, perhaps, to be in the moment, to be in the space of adventure. Because when we're in the space of adventure, it's kind of an invitation for the magic that's available to us. The magic that's available is available all the time. We don't have to have a special instance, but it seems that when we travel, because it's not our everyday familiar, we have a deeper, greater openness for the adventure. And so I wonder what we can do, and how much richer life might be if we invoke that sense of adventure in every aspect of life. You know, even just going to the grocery store can be an adventure. You know, walking through nature. Just what if that shift of mind that so readily takes place when we're traveling, when we're going to some place that's unfamiliar, maybe we can cultivate that unfamiliarity in our familiar surroundings, so that we can experience more of the magic. Because there's no quicker way to deaden the possibility of magic than to be living in the predictable, right? And to be living in the tasks rather than the experience. So really where the magic resides is when we're present to the actual experience of life. And I think oftentimes when we travel, our expectations are very different, if not relieved, like to be, maybe there's greater facility to suspend the expectations or not. It maybe there are even heightened expectations for travel for some folks. You think maybe you're going to a resort or something, and you think it's going to be a certain way, and then it doesn't turn out to be that way. You can have your expectations dashed. So Rosalind says, so consciously choosing and opposing or looking at reluctance rather than turning away. Well, I think we always want to be looking at seeing what's there. It's interesting because there are moments when maybe fear is there and action is called for, and it's not an opportunity to be immersing yourself in the fear. For example, in an emergency, you just, the adrenaline kicks in as a survival mechanism, and you take care of things, and then afterwards typically there's a crash, where the impact of whatever happened then sort of comes crashing in. But it's after the emergency has passed. So I think there's always time to look at what's there at some point, like to revisit it. I just noticed all kinds of stuff coming up for me around this trip. It has in just deep emotional stuff, which is fascinating to me because good morning, Gia. Good evening to you. Great to have you here with us. We're talking about stepping into the void and embracing uncertainty and leaving space for the magic and the unfolding of life in its wonder, and being able to being present and responsive. I mean, it's in the present moment that the magic can appear when our expectations are suspended. I mean, with travel, there can be all kinds of setbacks and disruptions and timetable frustrations. And, we could get ourselves worked into a lather, or we can just dance with it. It's going to be the way it's going to be. And I think there are certain situations that we allow ourselves to experience that variability with more grace than we might normally do. I don't know. Being able to cultivate that grace on a more regular basis is probably something worth working toward, right? To allow ourselves to have an intention, like I'm intending to go do this, and I'm expecting, like I have something that I'm being directed toward, and then sometimes we get redirected, and sometimes those redirections provide us with incredible richness that is completely unanticipated, but that takes us in new directions, and that provides us with a level of joy and fulfillment that we wouldn't otherwise have been able to imagine. So this is, I think the stepping into the void means really suspension of attachment to our expectations, maybe. We can have a notion of how things will unfold, and then also allow for whatever variability occurs around that. And to be having an eye for opportunity, I think. And that opportunity often resides in the unanticipated, in the unexpected. So being with the fear, and maybe finding a way to being it to allowing it to turn into excitement. You know, fear and excitement are very, very close to each other. Rosalind says the void being a catalyst for self-discovery. Exactly. Exactly. The void, when I think of the void, I don't think of emptiness, actually. What I'm thinking of more is what Deepak Chopra used to call the pregnant void, which is the realm of all possibility. It's sort of the realm of magic and miracles, where everything exists yet as yet unmanifest. So from that void can come any possibility. And it's the space of emergence. It's the space of like the primordial essence of potential and possibility. So yeah, isn't that a great term, Gia? Gia says pregnant void. Wow. Yeah, I love that. I think I must have been, oh my gosh, years and years and years ago that I first read that. And it just still, it's just such a powerful, powerful representation, pregnant void. So this potentiality, pure potentiality, that also I think was from Deepak Chopra. I didn't coin that phrase either. So there's when we are present to possibility, there's a sense of vitality and aliveness that just is so expansive, where we are in the presence of magic. You know, like I know that a lot of people who travel, you know, it's mundane, it's routine. You know, it's just like we try, even in the space of the extraordinary, we so often try to normalize it. Where we try to just be unshakable, be unexcitable. I think, I guess what I'm talking about is that when I travel, it's more likely that I allow myself the eyes of the innocent, you know, the eyes of a child, the mind of the child, where everything is filled with wonder. And you know, like when there are setbacks and stuff like that, setbacks again, where reality isn't meeting my expectations, so I'll call it a setback. But you know, there are opportunities for magic in any moment. And I think when we expect magic, when we create the space for magic, then the world just can deliver such miracles, you know, such wonderful synchronicities and adventure, you know, to be gifting oneself with the eyes of a child, to be seeing the wonder, to be living in awe, to give that to ourselves, I think is one of the greatest gifts that we can give to ourselves and receive. And so I invite you to do that, whether you have extraordinary circumstances that bring that forward for you, or you allow for your mundane circumstances to be extraordinary. I think we can. I mean, there's wonder in every moment. And as we presence ourselves to that, that is in its way stepping into the void, allowing the emergence of the magic from the void. When we presence ourselves to that sense of wonder and adventure. So that's the invitation. I'm off on my journey, and for the next while through the end of the month, there are going to be replays of the show. So there will be people, you still have the opportunity to listen, maybe catch some time that you might have missed before. So Rosalind says, I think I prefer the word magic. Miracles seems related to divinity. That works either way it works. I mean, I think that the world is miraculous too. Miracles are things that we just don't have the explanation for. So is magic, maybe. I love all of it, the magic, the miracles, and I tend to think that there is a divinity to it, not necessarily with a figurehead, but that there is an intelligence to life itself. And as that intelligence unfolds, we get to witness what the magic and the miracles. So Rosalind says, have a wonderful journey. We'll be listening to replays, so many topics to revisit and explore. Thank you, Rosalind, and thank all of you. It's so good to be here with you. And I am so excited for this adventure. I can't even tell you. And hope to be able to report all kinds of deliciousness when I get back. So thank you so much for your wishes, Gia. And that's it for today. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live each weekday morning here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I encourage you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network and Enlightened World Living. And I will see you again, I hope, in a couple weeks. So much love to you. Until next time.